GTA 6 Trailer 1 is now officially 2 years old, and since then it feels like everything has changed. So now, after hours of digging, I've successfully analysed every single trailer scene, and with the help of the map, the screenshots and also Trailer 2, we've now got a much clearer understanding of Rockstar's first trailer. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe because I can guarantee you'll learn something new from this video, and on top of that we'll be giving away a copy of GTA 6 when it finally releases. So without further ado, let's dive in. To start with, let's begin with the opening scene, where out of all the vehicles on the highway, the truck towing that boat trailer really stood out to me. For instance, it's highly speculated there'll be way more importance placed on boats this time around. So therefore, maybe in GTA 6 we can buy our own trailer and tow our own boat around Leonida, and possibly launch it wherever we please. Additionally, although this could be a bit far-fetched and speculative, this could be one method of transporting our maritime vehicle, maybe moving it into our storage and possibly even taking it inland for repair, although I'd imagine most of this will be done through Brian's Marina that we've seen featured heavily so far. Also, you may notice that there's a plane in the sky because in this trailer Rockstar has squeezed them in wherever possible. I believe this one is based on the Boeing 747 in real life, which is purpose built for transporting passengers and or cargo. On the left here we've got that unmissable and seriously tall tower, and in my opinion it's going to be great fun climbing up the ladder for 5 minutes in order to reach the top, before of course shortly after jumping off the top. But if we shift our focus towards the centre of the image, towards the water treatment plant, but more specifically to the prison just behind, which purposely what I feel like is the main purpose of this shot, and so if we zoom in we can very faintly make out the fence that's surrounding the perimeter, and based on my research this is on the opposite side of the prison to the next scene. When I first laid eyes on this scene I initially thought we were outside of the prison looking in, but on a second glance it's definitely the other way around, as just beyond the fence we've got a view of the car park, which I'm guessing is used for staff and visitors of the penitentiary. On top of this, even though it's low quality, there's something running across the bottom left of the screen, but it does seem to disappear once it gets to the fence post, so there's a chance that my eyes are deceiving me. But also this could be an opossum courtesy of the 2022 leaks, or maybe it's a rabbit or something else. Another point to mention is that for the time being, this shot is pretty much impossible to place on the map, as when it comes down to landmarks there's only these two power line towers in the distance, as well as some tall structure on the left that's only half visible. But lastly, even though I've got nothing to back this up, I feel like as this clip pans from left to right, it's leading us into the next shot. And so based on my speculation, I believe that the last shot was filmed in the back somewhere, facing rightwards or looking out of the prison. Anyway, what we see here is captured in Lucia's dorm in the penitentiary, and I feel as though at this point that everybody knows about the family photo, but logically speaking it doesn't really tell us anything, and better yet it may even be the property of Lucia's cellmate, you just never know. Next up we are in Stephanie G's office. Of course, as you would likely think, it contains some office supplies in the background, as well as some framed photographs of Stephanie in her younger years, and don't forget the cat. But in addition to that, we also have a brilliant display of Rockstar's new patents, and the one I'm referring to is brand new for GTA 6, and it's called machine learning for hand poses. So if you pay attention to Stephanie's right hand, it's just unbelievably natural and fluid motion, just from the first frame when she's touching the paper, and then she talks to Lucia before resting her hand down on the desk. Again, this is just miles better than anything we've ever seen before, and she does all of it with a pen in hand. But leading on into this shot, which ultimately completes the scene in the office, there's not much more to mention apart from firstly, the lighting and graphics look amazing. However, by now, all of us I'm sure recognise that, so I won't be bringing that up much going forward. But in the bottom right corner, we have yet again another photograph, which I'm assuming is of Stephanie and her partner. And just before we move on, I would like you to take a mental note of Lucia's spot, spots, and more importantly the one below her nose and also the one below her left eye. However, that's it from this first sequence, and although that might not be the correct terminology, I'm calling it that because you can clearly tell all the scenes leading up to this point are related to Lucia and the Leonida penitentiary, and as we progress you'll notice there are a few more of these sequences later on in this trailer. But to rephrase this in a different way, a lot of the scenes in trailer 1 are interlinked, so essentially Rockstar intentionally didn't show off much with their first trailer, which in hindsight was probably to be expected, but if you pay close attention then some of these mini stories will jump out to you. In this first frame we have a new boat. Well, I suppose it's a new yacht, but it looks pretty nice, and it's actually based on the Horizon PC60 in real life. Not that I have any clue what that means, but regardless, based on its size, I really hope it has a detailed interior or potentially a living quarters, as I'm sure you can agree that was something that was really lacking in GTA 5. Additionally, there are now sea turtles inhabiting the water, so just off the top of my head, potentially in GTA 6, there's a mission where we have to save a turtle from choking on a plastic straw. Don't get me wrong, of course I disagree with plastic being in the ocean, I'm just finding it a bit hard to adjust to the soggy paper straws. Anyway, what else is apparent in this scene? First off, you may not have noticed, but there's actually a massive frame drop here, and I know what you may be thinking, surely not in a Rockstar game, right? But if you just focus your eyes on a single spot, it's quite easy to tell. When the camera tilts to show us the beach and the sky, the smoothness of the video definitely takes a bit of a hit. Following on from this is the plain advertising for 919, with the words behind it reading, "Why 69 when you can 919?" And to be real, this is quite creative, but on a first look, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. However, due to the fact that we've now seen trailer 2, we now know that it's a fully fledged nightclub which will be featured in one of the GTA 6 missions. And what's more is that the 919 club is based on the 11 club in Miami, and funnily enough, they actually publicly responded to Rockstar, where I'm not gonna lie, they did a pretty smart thing by mirroring the V to make their X. In this next shot, there is a barrier or crossing gate for the train on the left hand side, and surprisingly, close to all of the interiors are fully visible, and it seems as though the two buildings closest to us, as well as the one all the way on the right hand side, are all fitted with the same downlights. And I'm aware that we said I wouldn't talk about graphics, but it's just completely insane to me how the reflection of the sun changes as we drive by. Like, I'm not sure I even fully understand how a video game can do that. But if we move on, there's limited information here, apart from of course the brand new vehicle that's present, the airboat. But what's strange is that I have a gut feeling that this shot was taken in Ambrosia, and in my opinion probably close to the Lake Leonida, and I can't quite describe why, but this just doesn't feel like the grass rivers to me, because in real life there are small parts of Lake Okeechobee that actually look like this. But again, I must stress that this is completely my own opinion, and this is literally based on zero real evidence, so it's probable that I could be completely wrong. Anyway, scene number 9 contains a whole bunch of flamingos and other wildlife, but this one is 1000% in the Grass Rivers, as it's been placed on the map on Flamingo Beach. Also, just a quick shout out to the mapping community, you're doing God's work. But yeah, Flamingo Beach looks extremely dense and detailed, and that's about it. In the top right of the frame, we have the returning sea sparrow, which of course is going to be fully utilised in GTA 6, as there is water pretty much everywhere in Leonida. Adding on to this, just beneath that, there's 6 people in the distance, and for some reason they're just standing there in the water, but they're not doing a whole lot. So this is going to sound a little bit negative, but they just seem like placeholders, almost like they're just there to fill up the scene. And also on the right, lo and behold, a guy in pink speedos. I mean, I just can't wait to get Jason and some budgie smugglers. Anyhow, in the bottom of the frame, there is a woman with a butterfly tattoo on the back of her neck. Or is it a moth? To be honest with you, I'm not too sure. But swiftly moving on, in the center there's a dude checking his watch for his personal best, and I damn hope we can have our own pet chihuahua in GTA 6. Last but not least, we have these parasols owned by the company's Soul Sisters. So it seems most likely that every set of parasols along the beach is going to be owned by a different company or business. But let's be real, I can't not mention the lady on the left hand side having sun cream applied. And the real question is it sunscreen or sun cream? Now leading on from that, we can see at least 3 new boats, with the one in the back being hard to make out. However, for the fun of it, let's assume that's a new one as well. I would say that the blue speedboat on our right is my favourite. It's just quite a funky design. Obviously, also on the right is that massive container ship that's called the BTN Del Mar, and the word Del Mar is actually of Spanish origin, which quite literally means of the sea. So I suppose this ship is named BTN of the Sea. On top of that, this is the exact same port that we've seen pictured in the 2022 leaks. And I must admit that throughout this trailer, you will observe that a lot of it is just displaying what we've seen in the leaks, as to not give away too much information. Sorry, I forgot to mention the plane in the sky also. Nevertheless, leading on from this, we have Lucia hanging out of the red convertible, which is positioned on the road next to the Sahara Arena. And you may not know, but this is based on the Kusea Center in real life. And we can get a much better look at it from this screenshot, which shows us that same road that Lucia is cruising down. And of course the stadium, that in my opinion is a pretty nice looking building. And moreover, it's home to the fictional basketball team, the Vice City Narcos. But I do wonder if the show Narcos has had any impact on this name, as it's rumoured to be quite a big inspiration behind GTA 6, at least in the early days when it was titled Project Americas. But in spite of that, this shot overall really reinforces that love truly is a long road. Furthermore, Lucia is wearing that iconic dress, which is almost unrecognisable when compared to trailer 2. But more importantly, it's now easy to connect the dots, as this same outfit signifies that all of the scenes are part of the exact same mission. And at the moment, it seems the mission just revolves around getting pissed up and having a good time. Moving on, we've got a snazzy car meet with the added detail of rubbish all over the ground. Surprisingly, the only new vehicle here is the emerald green Schista PMP 700. I most likely butchered that, but this is a successor of the PMP 600 that was available in GTA 4. And for sure, I'm definitely a fan of that emerald green colour. It's a guaranteed mean machine. Despite that, there's also a grey car about halfway through this shot. It could potentially be new as well, although I can't find any current record of it on GTABase.com. Regardless, it looks like an Audi to me, although in all honesty my car knowledge isn't fantastic to say the least. Unfortunately, because this is filmed at speed from a vehicle, there's quite a lot of motion blur present, so everything in this shot is completely illegible. However, this is excluding the letters in the background, which if we scrub through the frame reveals the word nude, but from the last frame we can barely see half of another letter. All in all, I'm not gonna come out here and say that I've confirmed what the word is, but I refuse to believe that it can be any other word apart from noodles. Up next, we are in the Jack of Hearts strip club. Getting straight into it, up top there's a banner that displays Make It Rain Mondays, and thanks to GTA 6 trailer 2, we've had a look at 2 more event banners, one with Sinful Sundays and the other reading Seduction Saturdays. So now all we need is the other 4 event days to complete the set. Maybe we receive Freaky Fridays or even Tasteful Tuesdays. But following on from this, did you know that there are presidents from RDR2 shown on all of the dollar bills? And just as a first example, we can illustrate it most clearly in this screenshot. To start with, let's zoom in to avoid getting distracted. On the $10 bill, it's 100% President Waxman. I mean, the resemblance is undeniable. But what's more is that on the left is actually President Hardin on the $1 bill, which is just such an insane little detail. Although in total, there were actually 4 presidents featured in Red Dead Redemption 2, with Waxman and Hardin as already mentioned, along with President Fisher and also President Alfred McAllister. So now if we come back to trailer 1 and stop on this frame, there's a lady holding out a dollar bill in her right hand, and she's got about a dozen remaining in her left hand. And here we have that same image zoomed in, and I've used AI to upscale it as much as possible to give us what looks to be President Fisher. I'm really not sure if I'm losing my marbles here, but in my eyes it doesn't look like either of the faces beforehand, although maybe that's because it hasn't fully loaded in. But to reinforce this claim, it's interesting how the lady is giving them out sparingly, and she's not throwing them all over the place like $1 bills. So maybe they are $20, $50 or even $100 bills, and potentially the face of President McAllister is on the front of a different bill, although he hasn't been spotted yet, and again this is all just speculation. In scene 15, we get to see this fella in detail, who for sure plays a prominent role in the story, as he's present quite a lot in the GTA 6 material. Of course he's here in trailer 1, but potentially this is him in one of the previous clips. And furthermore, he is visible in the 2022 leaks, and also in one of the Vice City screenshots. The only other thing in this scene to point out is the legendary dap up, and also the fact that his mate is wearing a blue bandana, which contrasts the red bandanas that we'll see later on. So I need to say that it's most likely there's going to be a gang rivalry at play, maybe similar to the Bloods and Crips in Los Angeles. In the following shot, we have a wide view of the Venetian Islands, formerly known as Starfish Island in GTA Vice City, which was home to Tommy Vercetti's mansion. There's also a barbecue on the balcony featured on the left side, and we also have a well-lit tennis court, so it's pretty much confirmed tennis will be returning from GTA 5. Visually, the Venetian Islands look absolutely beautiful, but just like in real life, it looks like you have to pay a toll when passing through, and I can't say I'm surprised. Nothing's free nowadays, not even in a video game. But the good news is that supposedly using those green cycle lanes, you can just bicycle right by, and at least in Leonida they use miles per hour, so it's good that we're all on the same page. Now we've got this very luminescent scene captured from the legendary Ocean Drive, with signage for the Ocean View Hotel in the distance, and in the centre, I hate to say it, but we've got some dirty jaywalkers. Also, although it's unlucky, I don't think there are any new cars in this scene either, but what did catch my eye is the parking meter in the middle. Now I doubt we'll have to pay for parking every time we pull up the handbrake, but I do wonder if we can break them open or even destroy them like we could in GTA Vice City, just as a way to get some quick cash. Otherwise, I guess they're just there for pure immersion. Moving on from that, we are in a nightclub in downtown Vice City, which is separate to the 919 club from earlier, as this one is supposedly based on Club Space in Miami, and when we compare them to each other, the similarities are very clear. Aside from this, there's not much to talk about, apart from the hair physics, which are astounding as this lady jumps up and down. However, I feel like we would all naturally expect the hair to move a bit more unpredictably and erratically, but maybe that's just me. Here, the colours really pop. To the right and in the far distance, we have a few super yachts, which showcases the calibre of people we can expect in the Leonida Keys. Also, in reference to these container ships, I imagine we will be able to board them and cut the containers open like proper pirates, and I believe there will be a few missions in GTA 6 when we're tasked with doing this. In the background, we have the white blimp called Fat Albert. It's actually tethered to the ground at all times, with its its main duty being to survey low-flying aircrafts. So keeping that in mind, during the story of GTA 6, I'm fully expecting Fat Albert to cause us some issues, as we will be playing a key part in a drug running operation. Now, in the bottom of the frame, we also have these white and yellow barriers, along with a little hut. This is important because it's speculated to be the entrance to the military base, and from a bird's eye view, it's thought that this shot was filmed as if we had our back to the military base. So realistically, it's just another thing that Rockstar's hiding from us. Okay, this is, in my opinion, the best shot from the entire trailer. For me, it just perfectly encapsulates GTA in all its glory, and this is one of the scenes that really got me excited for GTA 6. But anyway, this is also one of the most controversial shots, and that's all stemmed from one simple question: is this Lucia or not? Because on first glance, I think many of us thought this was just a random girl, and to be real with you, I just thought it was one of the cover models for the game. However, if you think back to earlier, then we can get a definitive answer. Starting off, while she's turning around, we get a glimpse of a spot below her nose, which is in the exact same place. Furthermore, on the last frame, another spot under her eye becomes visible. Again, the same one that we picked up on before. This isn't just a coincidence, and absolutely confirms that this is Lucia, as well as the fact that it obviously looks like her. But if you're still not convinced, Lucia had this same hairstyle back in one of the leaks, where she was displayed wearing that black dress. And all in all, the fact that we had to go in so much detail to prove that it's actually Lucia is really just a massive testament to Rockstar, that the character customization is just so advanced. To finish off, you can see Lucia is dressed in a bikini designed by Sessanta Nove, which is a luxury brand returning from GTA 5, and it's inspired by Louis Vuitton in real life. And it's quite easy to tell when we look at some of the car liveries. But in spite of that, it's still a bit of a mystery how Lucia went from rags to riches. Next up, we have the first half of the Vice City sign, which marks the end of the VCIA runway, and it's nice of Rockstar to give us a completed view of this in the screenshots. But what's quite fascinating is that this sign doesn't exist in real life. There's no Miami version of this sign, and if you have seen it, like in movies like Bad Boys, then it's just a transportable movie prop. But let's proceed to the next shot with a post from the Dad Bod squad. There's not much to comment on here, as it appears Rockstar is just showcasing the social media in GTA 6. I have to state though that this level of NPC diversity is extremely nice to see. No two NPCs are the same, and this almost looks like a scene out of Wolf of Wall Street. This one again is a social media post, which is from Official Poach. Of course, the guy is dragging an alligator out of the pool. I'm sure we all noticed that. So it leaves me curious if this will be an event that happens often, and potentially we have to call out the poachers to extract crocodiles from our pools. Additionally, what else is great is the beach ball that appears on the right hand side, and it looks as though it's been dropped just before this clip starts, producing ultra realistic ripples as it bobs on the surface. And ultimately, I've not seen anybody point it out, although let's lead on from that. And do you think we'll see this on the regular and out and about? Let me know down below, and while you're there, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, shot 25, the first thing to point out is this green store, which I'm assuming reads food equipment. Adding on to that, I translated the text here that says si habla español or something like that, but I discovered that it doesn't translate at all, so I'm not really sure if it means anything or not. But I must say that a food equipment store is quite random, and if we were to speculate, I'd say it might be where we go to buy equipment for our restaurants, if that's even a thing in GTA 6. Or better yet, there's a chance we purchase equipment there to run a drug lab, as based on the phone number on the front, I believe it's strictly for commercial sales only. Despite that, in the rest of the frame there is at least 50 or so people in our view, which is just incredible. In the middle is the real dimes, aka Bay Lux and Roxy. So if we come over to the next shot, you'll right away notice how different they look here. And personally, I think they are visibly far less detailed, especially when compared to the screenshots that we've got so far, and of course GTA 6 trailer too. In conclusion, I'd say that's the main feature, but we also get a sly comment from Shanice, who was prominently mentioned in the leaks. She is allegedly Lucia's best friend, and her post on Life Invader was mentioned in the leak by the pool. But on a serious note, who actually says catch a vibe? It honestly just reminds me of that viral TikTok song a few years back. And following on from that, we have an alligator looking for his next meal. And if we just watch the footage, it's pretty hilarious how much the reactions differ. Some NPCs are running away at full pelt, whereas others are just completely unfazed. Almost like this is a daily occurrence, so they're just not bothered by it. Besides that, the person behind the counter has most definitely got a gun. At first, this was borderline unnoticeable, but if we really focus on them, we can tell based on how they move. But all things considered, he's not going to shoot an alligator in the gas station, right? In this one, we are watching body cam footage from the 4th of August, although us Brits would call that the 8th of April. On the left is a mailbox full to the absolute brim with letters, so it's most likely that these tenants weren't paying their bills. And to make matters worse, they've boarded up the door shut, which in theory could be a key reason why the cops were called in the first place. Aside from this, the cop on the right is interesting to me, because he seems to be the only one who's not in uniform, and as highlighted, he's just in a vest and trousers, so I'm betting there's a slim chance he was a mole in this operation. Next up, we have an NPC being chased by a cop. And I'll tell you, it's great to see this feature return from GTA 4, as personally it most definitely adds to the immersion in GTA 6, mainly so we feel like we aren't the only criminal in Leonida. In the background, we can see the red and the green of the gas prices, so just like in real life, we could see these prices fluctuate at different gas stations, and so now I'm anticipating a video showing us the best place to fill up your car in GTA 6. Okay, let's have a look at scene 30. If we fast forward to the last frame straight away, we can see an object duct taped to the inside of this gentleman's car, although I literally have no idea what this is. Also, something I never noticed beforehand, there's a billboard on the left hand side, which is most likely the police advertising for public assistance. For example, although we can't see all of it, it probably says something along the lines of, have you seen XYZ? And what might make you crack up is that the person who's wanted is wanted for panty sniffing. The man here, who I'm guessing is Rudy, is of course performing a daring stunt. However, I wanted to point out that he's also wearing a red bandana, so he may have been part of a gang, and this links back to what I hinted at earlier. On top of that, it's very refreshing to see working side view mirrors, which is something that just wasn't possible in past Rockstar titles. And moving on from that, well, at least we can see the interior. Next, we get our first glimpse at the Thrillbilly Mud Club, with two lads fighting in the mud, some portaloos in the back, and beyond that, a monster truck performing a stunt. In all honesty, I'm quite intrigued to test how weighty the monster truck feels in game, as I've got a bit of a feeling they're going to be pretty difficult to drive. In this one, we get our first peek at a live stream, and I'm not sure why, but this is the first social media scene shot in portrait mode. Moreover, you may have guessed that this was based on a real life event. As insane as it is, there is a hammer lady in real life. But throughout trailer 1, you probably notice that there's a limited amount of dialogue, and in my opinion, this is where it feels like Rockstar's talking to us. The lady says,
"Well, look who's back,"
almost implying that even after all these years, Rockstar is finally back. But on the other hand, it could be them responding or acknowledging all of us returning to gaming for GTA 6. as quite frankly it's gonna revitalise so many gamers around the world. Anyway, I believe this is the mud club again, with the main giveaway being that everybody is covered in mud. But still, another thing to note is that this is definitely in the northern part of the map, as there are actually hills just behind, despite Florida being the flattest state in America. Scenes 36 and 37 with Jason and Lucia were going to leave until the very end, but don't worry, there is some good reasoning behind this. So leading on from that, we have a criminal who flipped his car during a police chase. As you can see, there's an insane amount of debris after the crash, and I do love the look of these brand new police cars in GTA 6. Adding on to this is a live broadcast at 10:34 Eastern Time, so just bear that in mind for a moment as we move quickly on to this next shot. Here, the text reads, "Confession written in ink," and just below that it says a tattoo on his neck that gave him away was key in the conviction of a man from Leonida. Allegedly, this guy is inspired by the Florida Joker, so currently there's yet another person who's demanding money from Rockstar. This shot and the following shot occur on the same day, or more likely within hours of one another. But a few things to mention here. Starting off, we have writing which is quite difficult to make out, but I believe it says Jenny's Food Depot. Just to the right we have a blue store with an anchor on the side, and on first glance this is probably where we can buy boating and fishing supplies, and I'm guessing diving equipment too. Most importantly, on the pink building there's a blue and red flag present with a small white logo in the middle. Now this is visibly similar to Haiti's flag in real life, so there's a chance that this is the style of food being offered, or maybe, and just maybe, Haiti is in GTA 6, but we can only hope and pray. However, we are nearly there now. As mentioned, this follows on from the previous shot, and it's the same biker gang who are now being featured on the news. Coincidentally, it's also broadcasted at 10:34, so I wonder if the scene from a moment ago was a live interruption of this news story. But putting that to one side, it's funny to see Rockstar mock the outrageous news stories that seemingly always feature a Florida man. But enough of that, because now we've got the high rollers lifestyle. To be honest, I'm not quite sure what to make of this, although this dude's t-shirt is showing us the game that Jimmy played in GTA 5, which goes by the name of Righteous Slaughter, and I think this is the new one called Blood Ops. But the whole concept is just a massive mockery of Call of Duty, and believe it or not, it's a visibly interesting game. But moving on, here's where I want to touch on what we skipped earlier, because these last scenes are all part of the same narrative, but they've just been royally mixed up. To start with, we have Lucia and Jason in the convenience store. Of course, they've just stolen the money from the cash register. It would appear this store sells all sorts of bits and bobs, like fishing poles as well as fishing net, and there are also hundreds of types of alcohol, but that's about it. And from the first frame in the next scene, we have a visual on a huge sign for a shopping centre or retail park, so we are 100% getting a fully fledged shopping mall in GTA 6. But adding on to this, on the left we have an advertisement for some medication, if you want to call it that. To me, it suggests that this is one of Rockstar's little pokes at society, and it reads the following: America's favourite dissociative, patients 18 to 65, so pretty much the majority of people, should use with extreme caution. Sudden urge to blink could be life-threatening. Call your doctor if your erection lasts more than 4 hours. Results may vary. And in the bottom right of the billboard it says fix, which I assume is a play on the word fix. Anyway, the end of this shot displays the getaway, with the cops speeding by, as well as Jason's full attire, which obviously matched the scene beforehand. Furthermore, this is interlinked with Lucia turning around in her seat, holding a stack of $20 bills, where conveniently she's covering up the face of the bill, so it seems like Rockstar was hiding this little detail until trailer 2. However, this next shot, which is actually 1 minute and 13 seconds in, actually precedes what we've just seen. On the plus side, we do get confirmation that this robbery was committed in Port Gellhorn, but it's clear this is the very beginning of Getaway. Then following on from that, this certainly takes place in the motel after the burglary, with the main giveaway being the money on the bedside cabinet, and also notably the fact that Jason and Lucia are barely clothed, likely after commemorating their recent success. But finally, we've made it to the very end, and there's just 3 more things to finish off. Number 1 is that it looks as though Jason and Lucia's guns are made from completely different materials. Lucia's weapon is more of a blocky polymer or plastic pistol, which would suit her more ideally as it's more lightweight. However, based on the shape, Jason's gun seems to be a traditional weapon made from steel. Secondly, on the door it says Petty Forever. Needless to say, the music track on trailer 1 is called Love is a Long Road by Tom Petty, so this is a reference to him. But thirdly, and I cannot stress this enough, this is extremely important, this store will no longer accept cash stored in your underwear.